Hey, real quick, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been feeling like your brand needs a little love, but you're not quite sure where to start, I have just the tool you need. The Standout Brand Audit Bot is an AI-powered guided audit that shows you exactly what's working, what's not, and how to strengthen your brand using my proven Standout brand system. In 10 minutes or less, you'll walk away with clear next steps to move your brand forward with purpose. It's completely free. Just head to the show notes to grab the link and get started. Natasha Golinsky is a 3-time Canada Women of Influence nominee, mom of 3 teenagers, a breast cancer survivor, and a web development agency owner who does not know how to develop a website. Yes, you heard that right. On today's podcast, Natasha and I are sitting down to chat about what it looks like to grow an agency, maintaining your company culture, how to make your first hire and your first fire, and how growing a team really can be the key to unlocking success in your business. If you have been considering transitioning from solopreneur to agency owner, or you have a team and you feel like you have no idea what you're doing, this episode is one you're going to want to listen to. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of 2, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Six Figure Brand. I'm so excited to have my friend Natasha Golinsky with us. She is the founder of On Purpose Projects, a custom web and e-commerce development agency based out of Vancouver, Canada. She is a 3-time Canada Women of Influence nominee, a mom of 3 teenagers, and a breast cancer survivor. So she has a ton of really great knowledge to share with us today. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here, Natasha.
Oh my God, thank you.
Great. So to get started, I love to have everyone just kind of tell us a little bit about what your business is, what you do, who you work with, and how you got into online business.
Oh my God, for sure. So yeah, I have run a full stack web development agency. I'm going into year 11. And my kind of claim to fame is I've never actually built a website before. I'm not a designer. I'm not a developer. I'm none of the things. I was actually a management consultant in the nonprofit sector. And I had a client who was like, hey, can you find someone to help me fix my website? And I went to Upwork. And I got a guy, I didn't even know what I was doing, some guy from Bangladesh for like $10 an hour. And he ended up doing the website. And then it sort of evolved that my client was like, you know what, my partner and she needs help. And then we did that website. And then I ended up working with the same guy for like 8 years. And that was how I started in the agency space. Like it was never something I thought about doing. I was not a creative agent, like person in any respect. And so, now for the past 10 years, I've run a full stack tech team and I have no idea what anyone on my team does.
That's amazing. I love that. I love a started my business by accident story because that's kind of what happened to me also. And as somebody who does the creative work and loves that part, we need people like you to keep the train on the tracks a little bit. It's a balance for sure. And I think as much as you're like, I don't know how to build a website, I'm over here I don't really know how to run a team. I'm just making it up as I go.
It was a perfect combo.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So what does your agency look like today? Paint us a picture.
For sure. Okay. So I am in the CEO role. So I meet with I have a project manager, operations manager. So I have someone who runs the agency for me now. So I have meetings with her. I talk to the person who manages more of the money. So I have meetings with sort of the higher level people on the team. And I am completely out of client work. We have about 8 people on the team. We're 100% contractor team. I have 0 employees. They're all virtual contractors. One thing that's interesting is I pretty much had the same team since the beginning. The guy who designed my logo before even we were a business is still around. I've worked with the same bookkeeper for 8 years. And we're a remote team. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, but we're all everywhere. So we have, again, me, project manager, QA people, web developers, and other contractors that come in as we need them. So
that's pretty unheard of and a testament to what a great business you've built, obviously, to have such low turnover with having a larger team. It's a little different when you're okay, well, there's 3 of us and we've all stuck together this whole time. But that's pretty impressive. Congratulations.
Got some good people, really good people.
Yeah. So you said that everyone is all over the place, which means they're probably working fairly asynchronously. I would assume. How do you help make it feel like everyone is still part of the same team? Because I think that is a big struggle with remote work in general, but especially like being in that CEO role. So like these are your people, you want to take good care of them, you want them to feel valued, but you also never see them face to face and probably never have your entire team all in a room at the same time.
No, never.
How do you like create that cohesion and culture being so disjointed physically?
That's a great question. For me, kind of like you as a mom, I have 3 kids. And when I started the business, my kids were a lot smaller than they are now. And at the time, anyone I hired, they had to be willing to work online between 9 and 2. Because that was when I was working. I was like, because I could only work while my kids were at school. I was a single parent. I was like, oh my God. And so between drop off and pick up, that was my window to work. And I'm sure you can totally relate to that. And so I only hired people who would be willing to work during those hours. Like I was not willing to like reply to email at 7 p.m. because it was in someone else's time zone. So one of my non-negotiables was always like in hiring contractors, even if they were like in South America, or if they were like one of my designers is in Egypt. And, you know, like they're kind of like, we're like, again, remote team. I was like, if you can't work my hours, like this isn't going to work. So that's how I sort of did it. And then so like everyone, like if a designer's working with a developer and a developer's working with QA and they're all working with the project manager, even though we're not physically in the same room, they'll have meetings together. We talk to each other on Slack, or there's like my project manager now runs team meetings to kind of keep everybody connected. But it's like we're all in different, let's say, time zones. Or not all of us, but most of us are in different time zones and obviously different cultures and different languages and different everythings. But we're all agreed to schedules, meeting schedules, things like that. So the logistics are such that we set it up that we have a little container where everyone working on a thing is going to be online.
So boundaries is what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, boundaries, definitely boundaries.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the hard things for me as someone who has recently like decided to own the role of agency owner and stop resisting it a little bit. I want the people who work with me to feel like they have freedom and flexibility and like all the things that I wanted when I started this business. And also we're running a business. And that has been a really tricky line for me to walk of like, I just recently, my studio manager had a family member pass away. And I appreciated that I was able to be like, you just go like do what you need to do and I'll see you next week and like we'll be fine. Yeah. But also I'm able to do that because when she is on and working, like she never misses a beat.
Totally.
I've had other people who I've hired in the past that have ended up not working out that are missing deadlines and we're going to work on this tomorrow and it doesn't happen. And then like I get put in the position where I have to hold somebody's feet to the fire and it doesn't feel very good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's hard. Definitely.
Yeah. So what advice would you have for somebody who is wanting to start an agency, whether they're like a designer like me and thinking, okay, I want to like grow my business past the point of doing it myself, or if they're even somebody like you who's like, I don't know how to design a website, but I think I could run a business.
I didn't know I could, but it just sort of happened like that. The first thing I think is the understanding that like not everybody's going to do it like you. Right? Like, I think the most important thing as well is like, this is something I hear a lot from colleagues of mine who are like, want to add help, is they think their first hire needs to be a virtual assistant or it needs to be, you know, but it's like the first hire that you need to make is the thing that is like bottlenecking you the most. So it's like, if you're finding like, and if you're a graphic designer, let's say, and you're getting a lot of requests for graphic designing, you can't keep up with it. Okay. Your first hire isn't going to be an assistant. It's going to be another graphic designer, right? Like you need now a graphic designer. And then, and let's say maybe the next thing you need is maybe another graphic designer. So you might have 3 graphic designers wide and no virtual assistant. But then maybe later, you know, because I think people have it in their mind all the time, like, I need an assistant, I need a virtual assistant. And for me, I didn't have a virtual assistant until I was in like year 9. Like I didn't, that wasn't a piece that I needed. So I think the most important thing that people need to know is like to really be honest with yourself and be like, okay, where do you need the help? Do you need another assistant? Do you need a money person? Do you need a housekeeper? Do you need a nanny? Like it can be like personal or professional. I mean, I remember when my kids were really little and we were getting busy, like I had a nanny who came 9 to 2, like a live out nanny who came, she cleaned and she did all the things and she like, that was my help. That was my team at that point, right? I think a lot of us think about just the work part of the team, but there's also like the home part of the team, you know, like, okay, if someone needs to, for a long time, I had like someone who came and did all the cleaning every week. And so, because that was just something that I didn't have time for and I didn't want to put my time into. I'd rather be like working than cleaning, right? So I think that's just to be really honest with yourself. Like stop listening to what everybody's going to tell you need to put in place first and just trust that you know where your next hire is. And there's a lot of mechanics around like hiring and interviewing and vetting someone and like testing someone that I'm happy to chat about. I mean, I have a course about it as well, but like happy to chat if that's something you want to talk about. A lot of it, I think, is also like knowing what you're looking for, how to filter those people out, like what you don't want, how to filter those applicants out, to interview, what to look for, how to set up those boundaries, how to set up those parameters, how to have a process to fire somebody. That's not like a simple, respectful process to fire somebody if it's not working out. So
Yeah.
hiring and
Yeah.
firing.
So I do want to talk about your course, but you said so many other things that I also want to talk about.
Yeah,
Specifically, I love that you mentioned like hiring help in your personal life. That's something I've found myself talking about a lot lately in my social content and on podcasts and like even just in conversations with clients and like networking and stuff, that you can outsource things in your real life to help support your business. And so like the example that I gave when I was a guest on a podcast recently was like, I used to have a house cleaner. We moved, and so I don't have one now, but instead I bought a Roomba, and like that counts. And
that's your
I
team.
use grocery pickup. That counts.
Yeah, 100%.
And, like it doesn't, first of all, you can start small. Like you don't have to hire a full-time nanny or a maid. You can buy the robot vacuum, and that legitimately will save you a lot of time.
100%.
And also, similarly to you, I love working. Don't really love scrubbing my toilets. If I could pay somebody to come clean my bathrooms and work during the time that they're cleaning my bathrooms, I would make more money than what it costs to pay them to do that.
100%.
And I have had to work really hard to like get out of the mindset of like, oh, only really rich and fancy people pay for those things, or like I haven't earned that yet, or it's my house, so I need to do, like that's silly. No one cares. My family does not care who cleans the toilets as long as they're clean.
Exactly. Nobody cares.
So I love that you mentioned that. The other thing too, and I agree with you, and I have a slightly different perspective, I guess. So you said maybe a virtual assistant isn't the first thing that you need, and I agree with that as a blanket statement. However, I think in your case, and tell me if you think I'm totally crazy about this, I think you kind of were filling the role as the virtual assistant since you were not able to do the design work, versus somebody like me who's like, okay, I am spending so much time sending invoices and communicating with clients and onboarding and offboarding and managing my calendar and my inbox that I can't do the design work. And the design work is the thing I get paid for. So in my case, it did make sense to hire a VA. And for a lot of the people listening, I think probably fall into that camp where they have a craft that they do, and now they're like, okay, I want to build a team to expand. I think a VA likely makes sense for your first hire. However, the hard thing for me to kind of get over was like, am I going to see an ROI on hiring a VA? Sort of, because I can spend more time doing design work, which means I can take on some more clients, but I can't bill for her time. So it's still kind of a cost that like I have to absorb. Versus now I have a VA and a graphic designer, and every minute that my graphic designer is working, the clock is ticking for like time that clients are paying me for. Unless, of course, once in a while I'll have her do stuff for my business. So in that case, I'm the client. But that's, I think, like an important distinction when you're hiring too, is like if you have an operations manager, for example, or a bookkeeper or whatever, those are not costs that you're like directly passing on to your clients. So I think the hiring around like each of those different types of roles feels a little bit different to me. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying. And you're 100% right. Like, because I wasn't the one doing the design, I never thought of it that way, but you're totally right. Like, I was doing the admin. I was more the administrator, the project manager, the money. You're right. I totally did all of that. So in my case, like I wasn't doing all the deliverables. So I was filling that role. Like, that's a really good point. But you're right. Like, most people think that automatically that's what they need, but it's like sometimes it's not. So I look at like bookkeeping support, admin support as exactly kind of like what you said. It like frees up your time. So if let's just imagine you spent 10 hours a week doing your books, doing your admin, like that's 10 hours a week. That's just 10 hours a week that someone would have had to do, and it probably would have been you. So that's how I look at it. Like, it's not necessarily billable, but it frees up my time to do things that make more money. So it's just a cost of doing business. I look at it too. Like, it's just a cost of doing business. Like, and also I look at like a bookkeeper, for example, like how much does it cost me with like, you're in the United States with IRS. If you do your taxes wrong, like how much does that cost, right? Or like how much does it cost to like I don't know, there's so much admin in running a business. Once you start having things moving and things are getting busier, there's a lot of admin. And it's like, and I look at too, like not just financial costs, but like family costs, right? Like let's say you have now that 10 hours of admin that you have to do after your kids go to bed. And now, but your partner's sitting on the couch by himself, like twiddling his thumbs, and he misses you because now you're on your computer. Like, what does that cost your relationship? Like, I look at like, okay, if you're doing all that admin, let's say, for example, and normally during that time, you would have gone for a walk and gotten some exercise, but now you can't because you got to like, it's just, I look at it that way as well. I look at it like a lifestyle cost. It's not just money. It's like everything. Right? Like if you have to, like I know a lot of women will work in the evening after the kids go to bed. And I'm always like, what about you? What about your marriage? What about your mental health? Like, what about that? And it's not money, but it's how much does a divorce cost? A lot. I've been divorced.
Yeah.
It's like all those little
Definitely
things.
more than a bookkeeper.
Definitely more than a bookkeeper. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I look at it that way. I take a more of a holistic view of it. I don't just look at like, okay, dollars per hour. I'm like, okay, if this is now flowing into my time when I would be with my kids, but I'm on my laptop, like to me that I just, it's just to me, I'd rather pay someone to do it so I don't have to do that. Now I can go to the park with my kids in the evening as opposed to like having to be on my computer, right?
Is your brand feeling a little off? Like your visuals, messaging, and your overall vibe just are not lining up with where your business is headed? You probably don't need another pretty logo. You actually need a solid strategy behind your brand. That's exactly what we'll build together inside the Standout Brand Strategy session, a one-on-one deep dive into your brand foundation so that you can finally show up with clarity, consistency, and confidence. And if you're thinking about working with Spect & Co. on branding or web design, this is your first step for every single project that we do together. Clients who've gone through this process have tripled their audience size, doubled their revenue, and raised their rates by 30% or more. Use the link in the show notes to book your session, and don't forget to enter code SFBPOD at checkout to save $100.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said too. You mentioned lifestyle costs, but also just like energy costs.
Yeah.
Like it stresses me out knowing that I have this mile-long list of admin stuff to do that, like, frankly, I'm fully capable of, but I'm not great at. Like my VA could certainly do it faster and better than me. And I know that when I have that like mile-long list of stuff hanging over me, I'm not like motivated to get up and come sit at my desk in the morning.
Yeah.
I am not like reaching out to potential new clients because I'm thinking I already have all this other stuff to do. Like, how am I going to take on another client? So there's definitely something to be said for like freeing up the brain space and your mental energy to like, this sounds wooey, but like to be able to receive more clients and more money.
True. It's totally true. I'm all about the woo stuff. No, exactly. Like if you have no bandwidth for it, of course you're going to like energetically repel anything coming in. Because you're just like wired and fried, right? Like you can't. There's no space. So 100%, you're right. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we've talked about making your first hire. I want to kind of rip off the Band-Aid and talk about the thing that I know everyone is so scared of. What happens when you make a hire and it goes sideways on you? I have my own story about this.
What's that?
I survived. I said I have my own story about hiring somebody and having it not work out, and it sucked at the time, but like I survived. I'm here to tell the tale. My business is still growing and thriving.
Yeah.
But I think that is like the thing that really holds people back. They're so scared that it's not going to work out and they're going to like lose money or have to fire somebody or hurt somebody's feelings or whatever. So what advice would you give us about that?
Okay, this is a great question. So the way that I do this is I do it on the front end. So like, let's imagine that I'm hiring a new web developer. And as we're doing the interview process, before I even hire them, and we're at the end of the interview, I like him, like, or him, her, whatever. He's passed the technical interview, like everything's looking good to go. So he's done like the soft skills, he's done the hard skills. Like we've tested him. He's like ready to, I feel like he's ready with a shot to try him. And I kind of lay out my 3-strike system where I'll be like, hey, Matt, let's pick Matt, whatever. I'm like, hey, Matt, just to let you know, like the way that our team works is we have what we call a 3-strike system, wherein if I am telling you right now from our interview, you've heard what's our non-negotiables are. If I have to talk to you about it once, that's okay. I understand it's new. If I have to talk to you about it again, that's your second chance. But if I have to talk to you about the same thing a third time, I'm just going to ask this. I'm going to let you know this is probably not going to be a good fit on the team. And I'm just going to like, we're probably just going to end it there. I'm like, is that fair? And he'll be like, yeah, that sounds fair. So now he understands the 3-strike system. Like, let's imagine that, like, we had a situation recently where I had to fire somebody and he passed the soft skills interview. He'd passed the technical interview. He understood the 3-strike system. He came in and he missed meetings. He was missing meetings because of like time zone confusion or whatever. The first time he was like, oh my God, my son was sick. He was in the hospital. Like, sorry, I forgot my phone in the car or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, no worries, right? Time he missed a team meeting like about the specific client project. He was like, oh, sorry, I got the time zones mixed up. I'll be there next time. And I was like, look, this is your second warning. If this happens again, you're done. Like, we talked about this, like meeting attendance is like a non-negotiable on the team. And then the third time he missed a meeting, I was like, I let him know. I'm like, hey, I appreciate, like the work that you did contribute to this team, but per what we discussed, you did miss 3 meetings. And at this point, I'm just going to let you know this, we're not going to go ahead. And I appreciate your time. And that was it. Because you have to set it up, right? Like you have to let them know this is coming, right? It's like we do this with our kids, right? Look, if I have to tell you again, ... It's the same thing, but just with grown-ups, right? But I feel like if I had no way to like frame it on the front end, if I was just like coming in, then you feel like the bad guy, right? But if you're like on the front end asking for their agreement, their buy-in, be like, hey, this is how we work. Meeting attendance is one of our non-negotiables. If you miss 3 meetings, and you get to pick whatever your thing is, right? Like whatever your non-negotiable is, right? Like missing a deadline or whatever it is. And you have to kind of call it out in the beginning. Then when you enforce it, it's like they already know, right? And then when you let them go, they know that it's not your fault. It's their fault. Like you're not firing them because you're a bad guy. You're firing them because they missed 3 meetings. Like they did it to themselves.
And it's funny, as you were talking about that and you were like, oh, you have to lay out the consequences beforehand. I was like, that's exactly how I talk to my 3-year-old. But it's true. Like I think the thing though, and I have learned this lesson the hard way as a parent, is like, you have to mean it though. Like you have to follow through, because what happens when you get to the 3rd strike and you're like, oh, well, I'm sorry that your kid was in the hospital and time zones are hard. And then you're like making excuses for them. Fine. But then what happens whenever you really have had enough and you want to fire them? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, but you said it was fine before. And then now there's like confusion and they feel like it's unfair. And it just causes, I think, a lot more difficult feelings for everyone than are necessary.
Yeah, you need to follow through. You definitely need to be willing to follow through. And yeah, like I have fired, I've only had in 10 years, I've only had like one person quit for like another career change she made. But like I have fired a lot of people, like a lot of people. And it just, but then but I've never had it be like contentious or rude. It's not like, it's always respectful. It's like, look, I appreciate what you brought to the team. Unfortunately, because you did miss 3 meetings, this isn't going to work for our team culture. I appreciate it, but this is where we're going to end this relationship. And like, and it's like, because for example, like some people I hire on Upwork, like I hire a lot of my freelancers for Upwork, and they have to give you a review as an employer, right? Like, because I have to review them and they have to review me. And even if I fire them, I always, knock wood, have gotten a 5-star review, even when I fired them, because it's like, they know they did it to themselves. Like, I'm not letting you go because I don't want you on the team. Like, I like you. You didn't follow through. Like, you did not. Because the thing is, as well, is I think like what helps me a lot is like, I know, because it's not just that one person, right? Like if you have another person on the team, it's like, it sets a tone, right? Like if they see you fire people, like they are going to like, whoa, like they kind of know it's not a joke, right? But it's also like to your point of mental health. It's like how much are you going to put up with, right? Like how much drama are you willing to endure? And I know for me, the times that I haven't like been as strong, like maybe before, and you get yourself kind of like walked on, you're kind of getting jerked around by somebody, it's just like, it kills your self-esteem, right? It just kills and I feel like when you're the boss, you need to show up like the boss and you need to be tough. And I think it's that, but again, like I said before, it just comes always back to the framing. And it comes back to like, you position it like if you have your kid and they're having a tantrum, you're like, look, if I have to talk to you about blah, 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 however you phrase it, like, I need you to put your shoes on. Whatever it is, it's like, hey, so we definitely have to follow through, but also to own that spot as the authority. Like, I write the checks here.
Yeah. So, and I love that you mentioned culture, because I think it's also when you have a team of, more than like 2 or 3 people, you then as the CEO have a responsibility to the other people on the team. Like by that person missing meetings are, one, not I feel, putting in the same level of effort as the other people on the team who are making it to the meetings.
Yeah.
2, they're creating more work for that person.
Yeah.
And then if you just let that slide, you're kind of sending the message of like, oh, well, so-and-so doesn't have to work as like he gets special treatment. He doesn't have to work as hard. The standards
Yeah.
aren't the same.
Yeah.
And that's not cool of you as a leader. And then I guess 2 things can happen. 1, team members who are showing up and doing their job just become like quietly resentful of that.
Yeah.
Or 2, they start thinking, oh, okay, well then that's okay for me to do that also. And then that like really erodes the culture of your entire team, which I think is a huge, huge problem. Like one bad apple really can spoil the bunch.
It totally can.
Yeah. And to your point too about like mental health and people walking all over you and stuff, I think often, fortunately, I've not ever had like these type of problems with anyone on my team. But if I would not let like a family member or my husband or my children or a friend treat me this way, and those are like my most valued relationships in my life, like those people get a lot of leeway because I love them. Why am I letting someone who just works for me? Like this is just a business relationship. Of course, it's ideal to like your team members and to like be friendly with them and whatever. But at the end of the day, they're here because you pay them money and they provide a service. And that's it.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting reframe for me of like, I would never put up with this from someone in my personal life. So why would I do that from somebody in business?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey in business. I know you had some health stuff going on a few years ago and you stepped away and then came back, and the business that you came back to had evolved in like good ways, but your role was much different coming back.
Totally.
I had a similar experience taking 2 maternity leaves in the span of like 2.5 years. And I think a lot of listeners probably also either are going to have babies or they have family members with health problems or they have health problems of their own. Like for whatever reason, they have to take a step back from their business. And I think a lot of us freak out a little and are like, oh, this is going to kill my business, or I'm not going to like get my spark back or whatever. So what can you share with us about that period in your life and business?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, like 17 months ago, I found a lump on my right side, and I did all the things and the mammogram, and the mammogram was negative and the blah, blah, blah. And then finally in September, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, like aggressive breast cancer. And I was kind of freaking out because I was like running the whole business myself. Like it was just me, like running my crew, and I was the only project manager. And obviously, like most of us, we have all the information in our head, right? And I was freaking out because I'm a 1-income household. It was just me. There was like no one else paying the bills. And I
you have 3 teenagers, which is a big deal.
Which is very expensive. They eat a lot. 2 teenage boys who both like weight train and eat like everything in sight.
Yeah.
And then I had a team of people who count on me for their income, and I was having a panic attack. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Because my oncologist had told me, she was like, look, most people don't work during treatment. Like you should plan to be off for like 6 to 7 months. And I was like, I don't get EI. Like, there's no one paying me medical leave if I'm like, I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I still have to pay myself. I still have to pay the team. I couldn't shut the business down. Like, there just wasn't an option with the amount of people on the payroll. Like, I couldn't do that. I still had client relationships I had to, like, I was still mid-project on so many things. And so I had a friend of mine who'd been my client actually for 4 years. And she and I had kind of kept in touch after she finished that project, after she finished that job. But we kept in touch as friends, and I knew her. And so finally, like when I was diagnosed, I was like, and I'd gotten my date because I had been given 6 weeks before was scheduled for the bilateral mastectomy. And I called her and I was like, I need you. Like, I need you to come in. And even if it's just to like get me through this treatment phase, like she knew my team, she knew what we did. She wasn't a technical project manager. So she didn't have like all like the industry knowledge of what I was doing, but like she knew everybody, she'd worked with us, she liked us, like she wasn't a stranger, right, to the team. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I brought her in, and we did like 4 weeks of onboarding, and then I started surgeries. And so we did like a lot of onboarding while I was like high on medication. So I don't know how good her training really was, but like, oh my God. I was like high on painkillers or like wiped out from chemo. And I was like, ugh. But anyway, so when I came back full time in May, and we did meetings kind of like along the way because she was like being trained while I was like in bed. Right. And anyway, and so when I came back in May, like full time, I kind of worked partially throughout treatment as I felt good enough to work. She was like, I got this. Like, I don't need you to check Slack. I had forwarded my email through a lot of my treatment because I just wasn't able to like get up and get to work every day. And anyway, so she was like, I got this. Like, unless I tag you, I don't want to see you. Like, I don't want you here. And I was like, okay then. Like, all right. So then my role has kind of just moved. I used to be like money management marketing, and now it's just the biz dev piece. So I do the networking, and I love that piece. Like, I love that anyway. So I'm doing more of like, that's my only like job right now to do. But in terms of ops, I haven't worked with a client in like a year. I haven't talked to my team in like a long time, which has been hard, but I'm evolving out of it. And it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that she's the best part is she's doing a much, much, much better job than I ever did. So
Yeah.
it's very cool.
And like, what a blessing. I think the best kind of team member is the one that can say like, I got this. I don't want to hear from you for, 6 weeks. Like, you go take care of yourself.
Yeah, like we did like training all the way through because again, she didn't really have any industry knowledge. She didn't know like hosting. She didn't know like, so we did a lot of like phone calls and stuff in the meantime. But yeah, like it was so cool. At the end of it, she came in and she was like, I got it. I'm like, okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I had a similar experience when I took my first maternity leave. I had a bunch of clients and I was like, okay, well, I need to like keep supporting them because there's no paid maternity leave for a self-employed business owner. Yeah. I was thinking while you were talking about that, like, thank goodness that you're in Canada. So at least you didn't have the stress of medical bills.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, and so I hired a graphic designer to just take care of client work while I was out taking care of my baby for like 3 months. And my plan was that once I came back, I would say goodbye to her and that was it. And I was like 2.5 months into my maternity leave, like thinking about getting ready to come back. And I was like, I don't want to do any of that work like ever again in my life.
No, right?
So it was from an opposite direction. It was from me saying, I don't want to do that anymore versus you having this team member who was doing a great job and was like, oh no, we're fine. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of us go into breaks like that from our business thinking that like we're going to walk back into a dumpster fire, basically. Like, I'm going to have to rebuild or I'm not going to have a business or like, who knows? And I just love the opportunity to open people's eyes to the possibility that like maybe you will come back to something even better than what you left.
Yeah, I expected to come back and it all be burned to the ground. Like I really did. Like I expected my like exactly like what you were saying. I expected someone to like hold down the fort for me like while I was in treatment and to come back and to like have to rebuild. That was what I'd mentally prepared for. Just to kind of keep us moving, like keep this train moving at least until I'm like able to come back to work full time and or my version of full time. And I could see along the way that it was going better than I thought. And then when I came back, my first month back was like the second biggest month of my career in terms of sales. And it was like this really cool chemo comeback. Yeah, it was, I was so surprised. Like my expectations were really low. Like I knew she was good and I knew she'd be able to kind of keep it moving, but she like did so much better than I ever could have hoped.
Yeah. And I think for me, and you tell me if this was the case for you, there's always the fear of like, nobody loves my business like I love my business. Nobody can do it like I do. I had a lot of like mind stuff around that when it came to hiring a graphic designer at first. But I was like, oh, people come to me for my design skill, like my design knowledge. Nobody else can do it exactly like I do it. And I had to like do a lot of work to get over that, frankly.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that like, no, it's not her business and it's not necessarily her like area of expertise. There was a lot she didn't know, but like people surprise us when we give them the space to.
They do. And I think that's a very good point. Like she does not do it like me at all. Like in so many ways, she and I are opposites, like just on a totally surface level. Like she's Muslim, hijab, brown. Like she's not like if someone was used to working with me, she is like the opposite. She's way more like professional than me. You know, like if a client replied to an email and they were like, oh, hey, I sent the login, I'd reply, be like, fantastic, got it, thanks. She'd be like, hey, Mr. Client, I really appreciate you taking the time to put that over. We so appreciate your attentiveness to getting us the login information, blah, blah. Like this whole, and I'm like, damn, like she's so much more professional. So it's like, she's so different than me. She's like way more like rules and contracts and boundaries. And like, she's way better. And so if someone was like if I was expecting her to do it like me, I would have been like very disappointed. But she does it differently, but she does it really, really well. And really and I think that's a thing, like a block for a lot of us is like, she might not do it the same. Someone might not do it the same as you, but that does not mean it's worse. Because I would watch her, like how she would work with my team and work with my clients, and she was such a stickler. And in the beginning, it was really hard to watch her be like so direct. And like, she would have like performance reviews with my team, and I'd be like, what do you mean? And she would have these like really like hardcore performance reviews with the team. And then she'd like send the client like these emails, like really direct emails, like, no, we are not doing any more work for no extra money. Where I'd come sometimes let it slide, like, it's no big deal, and she was like, and I was like scared of her, honestly. But the way that, and the thing too, that I think is important to say is like, it hasn't always been smooth. I mean, midway through, it was like watching a car accident. Like there was things like as she got into it, but we had this really interesting conversation. So if someone's like listening to this and they're thinking like, piece of cake, you just plug and play. It's like, no. Like there was this season in the middle when we kind of got through the onboarding and I was like kind of in the throes of chemo and I was like pretty like, and I remember watching her handle just by watching the Slack chat. And I remember watching her navigate this really complicated client situation and seeing what she was doing. And I remember she and I had a conversation and she said to me straight, and she was like, look, I need you to stop helicopter parenting me. I need you to let me fail and I need you to let me learn. And she was a friend of mine, so I could totally take that feedback, right? But I was like, she's right. I need to like back off, let her do her job. And I'm not going to lie, like we lost clients over it, like her mistakes. But now I look at it now and that was like, she learned the lesson, and now we don't have to be in that situation. And I had to like ask myself, like, do I want to helicopter parent this thing? Or it's like with parenting, it's like with my kids, it's the exact same thing. Like I have 3 teenagers and it's easy for me to be like, watch everything they do and nah. But I'm like, ultimately, you know what? Like that's not doing my kid any good. If they don't learn, like, okay, don't stick your hand in the door. Like it's going to hurt. You can only say that so many times before they're like, oh, and then they don't do it anymore. So I had to kind of let that happen. But when it's your brand at stake and it's your dollars at stake and you're watching it happen, and it's going to happen, it's really hard. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, if the goal is to bring in a leader and someone who's actually going to like have the confidence to do it without you, we have a responsibility to that person to like, okay, like investing in you is more important to me than losing 2-3 clients. If that's what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I also think that it is such an asset to your business to have somebody who wants to do that versus the alternative, which would be somebody who is like, you're, about to pass out, like hooked up to a chemo machine in the hospital, and they're sending you a million Slack messages being like, am I doing this right? Can you double check this before I send it? And like needing to be micromanaged, which is exactly what you can't do right now. You know what I mean? So yes, it is hard to like make a parenting metaphor, to like let your child spread their wings and watch them fail. But doesn't it make it like so much sweeter when then they finally do succeed? Like you said, after I came back, it was our highest sales month. That wouldn't have happened if you had not let those stumbles occur.
Totally. Yeah. I agree.
Awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that. I just think,
of course,
I don't know. There's a million different reasons why we could have to take a break from our business, and deciding whether to just take a pause or bring in help, and how does that look and how do we navigate that, especially when it's due to some other stressful thing happening in our life. So like, let's also make sure we're keeping in mind the context of like, you were not just worried about your business failing. You were also worried about like, are we going to get rid of all the cancer? Like that's a huge thing. And who's going to take care of my kids? And like, so there's a lot going on for you to also navigate bringing in this new person and hoping that your business survives.
Absolutely.
And you did it. And you lived to see the other side. And now you're like, oh, this is great. I'm just the CEO and I get to do all the big picture stuff and network, which as somebody who like met you through networking is something that I think you really, really excel at.
I love it too. It's so fun.
Your business manager probably would not be able to do that. And so now you each get to like play to your strengths.
Exactly. No, that's it, right? Because I think like, especially as founders, like, we all have, for lack of a better term, we have zones of genius, right? But when it's all buried under everything else we have to do, it's like someone said to me, they were like, they'd mentioned to me, they're like, oh my God, I see your content now. It's like so much light and bright, and like it's so much more like enthusiastic now, like in my content marketing. And I was like, it's because I'm not working with clients anymore. Like, honest to God, like I now have the brain space to be creative and to think and to like organize myself and have some more energy and not be bogged down by like 2FA drama. And like, I have that space now to be in more creator mode. And it's so funny because, yeah, it's so true. Like, I love to network. I love to chit chat. I love to meet amazing women. Okay, but now we can do that more than before, right? Like, now we don't have to deal with like, oh, this Figma file is the wrong link and permissions issues. But, yeah.
Yeah. And I think like for me, that kind of happened in the way of like finally feeling ready to let go of a lot of the design work. And now I focus on marketing the business, doing brand strategy.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Like everything else, somebody else is taking care of. And it's great.
That's great.
But I had to like wait until I was ready for that to happen. You know what I mean? There was a time when I legitimately told myself like I could just sit in Adobe InDesign and create page layouts all day, every day for the rest of my life, and I would be perfectly happy. And I really did mean that. And now I couldn't tell you the last time that I opened InDesign. Like, I'm good. No thanks. Somebody else can do that. I'll give them feedback. I'll tell them like edits to make and what direction to go and all that stuff. But I think there's also the pressure to like grow quickly as an online business owner and hire. And building a team is the only way to scale, which is not true, I don't think. It is important to wait until you are like legitimately ready. If you try to force it too early, I am pretty confident that it will blow up in your face. So while I know we're talking about like how to make your first hire and pitfalls to avoid and all of that stuff, you also don't have to rush it. Like, it's okay to do all of this slowly.
No. And there's so many coaches, like you see them online, like who work in the branding design space, and their message is do it yourself. Don't build a team. So like there's two totally different ways to go. Like both are valid, and it just depends on what you want, right? Like I think you can do it any way you want. I personally never wanted a business that was 100% dependent on me. That was like terrifying to me. Because if I go down, then what, right? Like, but some people, the idea of building a team and having other people to think about and that level of responsibility is worse. So it's like, pick your poison, right? Like, it's kind of like both ways work. Both ways are valid. You can make money doing it both ways. Just which one works for you, right? And I think as we're talking about team thing, like that's what we're talking about. But you don't have to do it this way. And I agree. Like, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Don't do it.
Yeah. And I think too, sometimes you just have to try it. Like I tried hiring a couple of different ways before I like found the sweet spot that works for me. And now I'm in a position where I'm like, okay, I have a studio manager. I have a graphic designer. Like, maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, I want to bring on a copywriter or a social media person or an SEO person or whatever. If you had told 2018 Morgan that I would be considering hiring for those roles, I would have been like, you are completely insane. That's never going to happen.
Well, that's cool though. Like you're growing as a leader, right? Like it just shows your growth. That because I'm in the same. Like I would never want to work with a client now. Like if my ops manager left, I don't know. Like I wouldn't go back. I would.
Yeah. You'd post a job posting for an ops manager.
Yeah. I couldn't go back now. Like I've been out of it too long. Like I can't even imagine doing it now. And I did it for decades, and it was my life.
And you enjoyed it while you were doing it, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. I was really good at it and I enjoyed it. And it was just like, but now it's like, I just feel so much better doing other things than that. And
yeah. And we grow and evolve and we find new challenges. And like now the thing that lights me up is, self-development and learning more about leadership and running a business and networking and meeting people. And I wasn't interested in any of that, 5 or 6 years ago. So
totally.
I think it's okay to let our own roles within our businesses evolve. Like just because you started out as a graphic designer does not mean that you have to be a graphic designer the rest of your life. You can still like live in that world and fill a different role.
For sure. Yeah. 100%.
So for anyone who's like, okay, Natasha and Morgan, you've sold me. I'm ready to start hiring. You have a course around hiring. Can you tell us about that before we wrap up?
So people because I've always run a virtual contractor team, people have always asked me like, how do you do that? And probably more than anything I get asked about is about team building. And so I essentially created a course breaking it down. I think after I'd been on my 10th different interview talking about it, I finally broke it down for people like, look, this is what I do. This is how end to end, everything from interviewing to sorting out the applicants to setting up that 3-strike system, like to implementing it, to onboarding, to all these things. And yeah, I created a course that's just like a DIY. I'll drop it in the chat so you have a link if you want it. But it's like, how do I do that? I don't even know.
Mhm.
Basically, yeah, it's just like it's a DIY course of literally my process of how I've been able to do that. Because yeah, I have a 100% contractor team. We're all remote and we're all contractors. I have 0 employees. They're all virtual contractors.
And it sounds like they all love to work with you. I know you've said you fired several, but haven't had very many quit, which is pretty impressive. Coming from
Yeah, I have really good
agency
retention.
culture in like my corporate days, which is obviously a little bit different being like an in-person marketing agency, but turnover is typically high at marketing and design agencies.
Yeah, no,
So
I've had
that's a
people around
testament.
10 years. Like, yeah, my average tenure, I'd say, is at least 5 years. So,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Natasha, and sharing so openly with us. Where can we connect with you if we'd like to stay in touch?
Just head over to LinkedIn. That is my spot. So come
Awesome.
find me on LinkedIn, say hi, tell me that you met me through the podcast and would be happy to meet you.
Excellent. All right. Well, all of your links will be in the show notes. We'll put the link for the course and the link for your LinkedIn. Thanks again for being here, and we will see everyone next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan.
Thanks for tuning in to the Six Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at @SpectandCo. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.